Today I'm supposed to come and talk a bit about
socioeconomics and your status and where you see yourself in that large frame of socioeconomics. But before I get into that, I caught the ending piece of Mr. Encaladas's presentation, and I am a person who's a stickler for history and art, and so I really want to thank him and his department for the work that they do. They led one of my favorite trainings that I've had so far. And I have to tell you that you are doing great work, so thank you very much. I much enjoy all the work you do, especially as it relates to the history of Belize City. I always tell people that Belize City is the socio-political heartbeat of this country, because so much of the things that we have done and continue to do, many of the political decisions get made in Belize City, and we see that, of course, manifested today with what is happening at the Port of Belize with the stevedores and the staff members. So we know that Belize City hype. We're not a city of people where no and not strong enough and not bright enough. Those certain things get in our way as a society, and so that's what I want to talk about today. I will reference my phone a bit because I took notes, so I don't forget to say anything. So please allow me to do that. So first, as Brandon introduced me with those very many fancy titles, but Unuko just Dominique, right? So not feel any kind of way about approach me, but ask me any questions, because this is an interactive session. We're talking to each other. So please feel free to stop me anytime and ask me any questions that are relevant to what we're talking about today. And like he said, I'm a writer. That is what I identify as when I'm asked to introduce myself. I'm a writer more than anything else. And so today we have to talk about socioeconomics. So it seemed like such a big, heavy word, right? Socioeconomics, something very simple. It's two words that, development workers and policy workers put together about the society and economics. So society is us, the people, our relationships, all the things that make a society start with the people. Economics, the how we decide to spend the money and use the valuable assets what we have. So socioeconomics is really how people decide to use those monies and assets that we have. And of course, there are very many things outside of socioeconomics. So that socioeconomics alone is a good thing. But when you look at the inequities that exist, and Brother Nigel would have looked at some of the historical aspects of inequities, that is what keeps most of us back. And inequities specifically as it relates to opportunities. Opportunities that will separate a person that is outside and a person that is not outside. Opportunities. And I see some people from Martin's Primary School. I got a Martin, so I just have to just big up the people that ever got a Martin's Primary School. I found a community. So yes, inequities. So inequities are one of those things where determine your future. And it's really unfortunate that some of the inequities get decided from way before your mother decided to meet your parent and do that thing to make you. It get decided way before that. So what inequities look like, the distribution of wealth look like. So ask yourself, what that would look like to you? And I'll ask somebody to tell me what inequities, what unfair about life sometimes, where you could identify happen every day in our community from the time you wake up to the time you go to bed. So what are some of the inequities? Okay, what else? Anything else other than that? So yes? No, I can't hear you, I don't hear good, Okay, so he said that some of the things that happened to him, that is that police would have drive past a Hispanic person and go straight to him. Now, if you don't listen or read anything I write, you know that police brutality very close to my heart. And not on the police's side. Because I always think that, and this is not for bash police because they have a very difficult job, but in the same breath, I can understand how it is that in certain communities, so for example, I lived at Lakei. So when I go into Lakei, for example, from the Chatham Boulevard, there's always a police checkpoint when I'm leaving Lakei. Never one when I'm coming into Lakei. So what does that tell me as a person who lived at Lakei? It tells me that the police are more concerned about who goes over to north side than who comes into south side. It also tells me that when my friends who I grew up with, who look like, song like, and are much like all you very fine gentlemen that I see in front of me here, when they are approached by police officers and my other friends were in a very way, they're the higher socioeconomic status, but are in some very shady stuff, but that my friends will look like you young men, the police decide to rough up and to deal with. That are kind of the inequities where we talk about opportunities, and the minute you interact with the system, you get deprived of opportunities, because one of the things your job asks for when you first go, forget a job. Precisely. This is a very smart bunch. I like All right. So they ask for your police record simply to decide whether or not you have any criminal record or criminal intent or propensities. Precisely. Nobody is perfect. So that are some of the inequities we think about. The unfair firing of workers. One group of people owning all the land, one school having more resources than the other. These are favoritism, nepotism, all of those bad isms that we don't need in the society. Those are kind of things where inequities look like. So for example, one of my favorite persons to eat from, that Miss Telma. So now I will give you a picture of what inequity looks like. So I love Miss Telma food, especially her hudut. So, yeah, we can't have someone you eat pigtail. Okay, good. All right. So, inequity look like this. I love Mr. Mahudut, and he probably also love Mr. Mahudut. But the difference between me and he could be, for example, Mr. Mahudut just too far from he forget to get Mr. Mahudut, even though he love it. It don't matter. I'll use an example. I'll use an example because, like I said, Mr. One is my favorite thing. Maybe he allergic to something when Mr. Elma put in this hudud, exactly. Maybe he allergic to something, and maybe Mr. Elma know he may allergic to it, so she put it in there so he can't get it. It's an example. Maybe he not even know about Mr. Elma that he was always hear about this great hudud what this lady make, and he just not have access to it. And that's the same thing will happen in a very many communities. Maybe one kid want to play basketball, and he always see it on TV. I don't know how that's possible right now in the society, but these things do happen in other parts of the world where kids have never seen a basketball in their life. They always see it on TV or hear about it in books. So maybe this kid want to be an athlete, never see a ball before in their life, but he know when he watch it or read about it, it make he happy. Maybe this kid grew up in our community where sports not even our thing. But he know that he really, really, really want to play with this basketball, and he really want to learn all the things that he say, the great Kobe Bryant and LeBron James do. He wants to say, Michael Jordan. Sorry, sir. I don't mean to forget your guy. He's not one of my favorites, but I have to give the man the respect. So these are things. This is what inequity looks like. Inequity looks like you not even knowing opportunities exist. You're not even having access to it, and it looks like some people intentionally taking it away from you. That's what inequity looks like. So I want us to shift perspectives a bit, because I needed to start on that front where I establish what socioeconomics is and what hinders everyone to be successful on the socioeconomic ladder. So we need to start there, but we're going to shift perspectives, and we're going to take a page from Mr. Encalar's book and talk a bit about stories. Now, I started off by saying that I'm a writer. I've been a writer my entire life. It's one of the things that I say saved my life, because as a kid, I could have never imagined myself to do that type of thing to talk to crowds, because I'm a very shy person. Believe it or not. I know, but I know you probably don't believe that. You don't believe it, but it's true, right? So stories are really, the stories are attached to what the writer wants it to be. Now, I know a sister up here and tell you how you're in a complete control of your lives and everything that happens to you, because that would be a lie. Because I just started off by saying that some of the inequities get decided way before on the mound of permit. It get decided way before that. But the perspective that I want to share with you young men is that very many times we accept the narratives that are given to us. So we accept that because we come from a certain community, we act a certain way, we attack a certain way, we will perpetuate the same stories where the police have about we, where people will live that other communities have about we. Whenever hear out of district people talk about Belicity, everybody people talk about Belicity, they're scared out of their mind. And I always have to tell my friends from Punta Gorda, because my dad is from Punta Gorda, and I always have to tell my friends from Belmopan, because I actually love Belmopan. So people literally believe that as soon as they get off a bus in a Belicity or get off a plane in a Belicity, that they will be shot or robbed. And I always tell people, and everybody not as fortunate as me, Belicity not perfect. I've never been shot at, I've never been robbed, but people I know have been. In fact, very close family members and friends of mine have been killed. So I know to be delusional about the fact that Belicity can be dangerous, but I'm saying that that is not all that Belicity is. And you have to say to yourself that that is not what you are. Because the minute you start to play in that story of you have to be in a certain kind of way because you are from a certain community, then the people who try to oppress you have already won. They achieved exactly what they wanted to achieve, which was to make you believe that wherever you born, you have to stay there till the day you dead. Wherever your friend got shot on the basketball court, that's probably your life too. Wherever your sister or your ma get beaten or abused, you are turning into a beater and abuser. So the minute you learn to accept the narratives that are given to you, when I have such beautiful smiles, I'm sorry. The minute you want to start accept those narratives, when the oppressors win. And I think for me, it is very important that you start to imagine and reimagine the ambitions that you have. So this opportunity that you are being trained for, and I love that they're taking this stance because very many times they put people in places that are not prepared for it. That history lesson is very important. I keep to go back to Mr. Nkalala because it's very important to understand that people will look like, song like we have been some of the most successful people in this country. But as he rightfully said, sometimes it's the intentions and the integrity of the people will look and sound like we. Some people who have forgotten that they come from the same communities that we have come from and are insistent on making sure that they're the only one who win. And I implore you that when it is that you young men get the opportunities that you so rightly deserve and that they finally get to you, that you bring other people along. So when you win, you not say, boy, me can't deal with you no more, me can't hang with you no more because I know you're not a game there no more. That's selfish. You have to be able to have your friends see the light too. Have your friend get the opportunity. So the minute when that opportunity comes, he say, boy, I think you should have jumped on this because X, Y, Z. It's very important for left the door open behind you because other people may fight as much as you for get through that door. And getting through that door very hard. And you know that because you had to do it. So you have to be able to imagine yourself in our space of success while keeping in mind the realities of the inequities that exist. Because they will always exist. Because there are people in the world who are really up.